Welcome to Case Law Matters. Each week, we deliver the best hard-hitting analysis of case laws decided by the highest court of the land, with your host, Attorney Charity Ramaga. Tonight, I will bring you into the field of corporation law. And to help us understand more the concepts in the case of Gamboa versus Teves, Attorney Mopia and Attorney Abraham will be joining us here. Good evening, Attorney Mopia and Attorney Abraham. Thank you for accepting this invitation.
Good evening,
Hi,
Attorney
good evening,
Ramaga.
attorney.
Yes, how have you been? I hope you're great.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I hope everyone also is doing well together with our listeners.
Okay, let's go direct to our discussion in this case in Gamboa versus Teves, because on June 28, 2011, the Philippine Supreme Court issued a landmark decision on a legal issue that has, in the words of the court, remained unresolved for over 75 years since the 1935 Constitution. And here, the Supreme Court en banc voting 9-3 in this case interpreted the term capital appearing in Section 11, Article 12 of the Constitution. Now, Attorney Abraham, where did this case stem from? Can you give our listeners the surrounding facts of this case? Thank you.
Yes, of course. So first, to give you background, the petitioner here is Wilson Gamboa, a stockholders of the PLDT. On the other hand, the public respondent is headed by Finance Secretary Teves. So here, on November 1928, the Philippine legislature enacted Act number 3436, which granted PLDT a franchise and the right to engage in telecommunication business. And in 1969, General Telephone and Electronics Corporation, an American company and a major PLDT stockholder, sold 26% of an outstanding common share of PLDT to Philippine Telecommunications Investment Corporation, or PTIC. And Prime Holdings Incorporation was incorporated in several persons, including Mr. Gapod and Mr. Campos. Subsequently, the Prime Holding Incorporation became the owner of shares of stock of PTIC by virtue of 3 deeds of assignment executed by PTIC stockholders, Ramon Cuanco and Mr. Luis Revilla. And in 1986, the share of stock of PTIC held by Prime Holding Incorporation were sequestered by the Philippine Presidential Commission on Good Government, or PCGG. So the PTIC shares, which represents about 46.12% of the outstanding capital stock of PTIC, were later declared by the court to be owned by the Republic of the Philippines. Since PTIC is stockholder of PLDT, the sale of the Philippine government of 46.12% of PTIC shares is actually an indirect sale of 12 million shares, or about 6.3% of the outstanding common shares of PLDT. So with that, with the foregoing facts, this case is a petition to nullify the sale of share of stock of the PTIC by the government of the Philippines, acting through the Interagency Privatization Council to Metro Pacific Assets Holding, an affiliate of First Pacific Company Limited. This is a Hong Kong-based investment management and holding company and a shareholder of the PLDT. So here, Mr. Gamboa, the petitioner, questioned the sale on the ground that it is also involved, as mentioned earlier, the indirect sale of 12 million shares, because the PLDT owned by PITC to First Pacific. With this sale, the First Pacific common shareholdings in PLDT increased from 30.7% to 37%. That's increasing a total common shareholders of foreigners in PLDT for about 81.47%. That, according to Mr. Gamboa, it violates Section 11, Article 12 of 1987 Philippine Constitution, which limits foreign ownership of the capital of public utility for more than 40%. That is found in Section 11 of the Article 12 in our Constitution.
Oh, that's why. So, Attorney Abraham, the petitioner here, Mr. Gamboa, contends that it violates the constitutional provision on Philippinization of public utility. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
So, how did the court resolve this issue then? To our listeners, let's have Attorney Mopia, who will give us the ruling of the Supreme Court.
Good evening again, everyone. Thank you for standing by here with us. Now let us hear the ruling of the court. In here, considering that common shares have voting rights, which translate to control, as opposed to preferred shares, which usually have no voting rights. The term capital in Section 11, Article 12 of the Philippine Constitution refers only to common shares. However, if the preferred shares also have the right to vote in the election of directors, then the term capital shall include such preferred shares because the right to participate in the control or the management of the corporation is exercised through the right to vote in the election of directors. So in short, the term capital in Section 11, Article 12 of the Philippine Constitution refers only to the shares of stock that can vote in the election of directors. To add to that, this is undeniably showing that beneficial interest in PLDT is not with the non-voting preferred shares, but with the common shares as well, blatantly violating the constitutional requirement of 60% Filipino control and Filipino beneficial ownership in the public utility, according to the ruling of our Supreme Court.
Yes, thank you so much, Attorney Mopia, for that substantial discussion of the Supreme Court of its ruling in this case. Would you like to give our listeners important takeaways that they need to remember in this case?
Sure. Let us
Thank you.
remember the doctrine of this case. No franchise, certificate, or any other form of authorization for the operation of a public utility shall be granted except to citizens of the Philippines, or to corporations or associations organized under the laws of the Philippines, at least 60% or 60% of whose capital is owned by such citizens.
Just to add, the constitutional requirement of at least 60% Filipino ownership applies not only to voting control of the corporation, but also to the beneficial ownership of the corporation. So it is therefore imperative that such requirements apply uniformly and across the board of all cases of shares, regardless of nomenclature and category comprising the capital of a corporation.
Thank you so much, Attorney Abraham and Attorney Mopia, for sharing your time with us and, of course, for imparting your knowledge to our listeners. Thanks for listening to Case Law Matters. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the case of Gamboa versus Teves. Join us again next week when we'll be interviewing one of the prominent lawyers in this country. That's all for this episode. See you next time. Stay healthy and safe. God bless.